Yep.
Thursday so many times.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'll call to order the Public Utilities Commission meeting for October 24th, 2023. The first item on our agenda is our consent agenda.
Commissioners, I don't really have anything to report on the monthly utility operations. I did just want to make mention, and I'll have a report next month, but we did get notice just at the end of this week, last week, that the IIJA funds we did not get this round. There was a lot of funds that went out to climate, weather-related communities, things like that. So we'll have a meeting next Tuesday, and I'll get more information. But the positive thing of it was they did recommend that we apply again for the next round. So we certainly will be looking into that and doing something, hopefully, with that. But so while it was disappointing, it wasn't totally unexpected. We'll just keep trying until hopefully we can get some money. So that was the only update. I didn't have it in the report because I found out after the agenda had gone out, but I wanted to make you aware. And I'll fill you in with what I find out next week.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item up is the Employee of the Month.
Yes, Commissioners, the Employee of the Month for September is Brandon Devereaux. He works with the Electric Distribution Department and carries a Class A journeyman license. He has a positive attitude and is always willing to work with his coworkers to safely get a project done. Brandon works well with his team leaders and has no problem stepping into the leadership role when he is asked. His experience is definitely an asset to their department. So I want to congratulate Brandon Devereaux.
Can I get a motion?
I'll offer the motion to recognize Brandon Devereaux as Employee of the Month for September 2023.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Brandon. Now we're on to new business, the wastewater treatment plant infrastructure condition analysis report.
Yes,
This is, again, a condition analysis of our 50-year-old wastewater plant. The impetus behind this project was starting to get an idea of what our needs will be going forward. And as Snow, we just had a work session on it, and Bolton Mink's going to give us an abridged version of
Very
their
good.
slideshow.
Yeah, as we discussed, this is a condition analysis to provide a roadmap for New Ulm Utilities at their wastewater treatment facility. The facility, much of it is over 50 years old, having been built in 1972 with 90% grants from the federal government. The challenges facing that is that infrastructure is over 50 years old and approaching 70, which is the lifespan of concrete. And so, much like other communities, New Ulm needs to have a roadmap and a plan in place to upgrade this facility, understand the costs of what it's going to take, and plan ahead. Currently, the facility is adequately sized to handle the loads now and into the future. You can see from this graph here that continued diligence with I&I inflow and infiltration is needed, as there are some peaks in the flow from this graph, and that just indicates that rainwater and groundwater can get into the system during wetter years. And so it's important to continue to stay after that infrastructure and keep that up to date. But overall, the wastewater treatment facility needs are surrounding the age of the facility, not the size of the facility. The commission has done a nice job over the years of continuing to maintain that facility, doing little projects. And those benefits can be seen as our team of engineers have walked through the facility and identified future needs. Here's an example of some 1972 sludge pumps that were updated in the last couple of years. showing new piping, new pumps that are good for another 40-year lifespan of this. So the investments that are made in the facility do pay off, and they do serve the community well. I guess the downside of all of this is that there is significant need that's coming in the future. Approximately $111 million worth of needs over 20 years. These have been broken into 4 different buckets, both short-term, mid-term, and long-term needs, along with some plant optimization and innovative ideas. Bucket to make the facility run better and more efficient. And then the last bucket out there that we wanted to identify was some of the regulatory needs that could come up in the future. These regulatory needs are surrounding total nitrogen limits that the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency and US EPA are discussing, along with PFAS, the Teflon-like chemicals that have been found in water and manufacturing. And so with these needs, the idea is that the commission can plan up accordingly to knock off projects as they come up, both short and long term, so that at the end of the 20 years, the facility is good for another, 50, 100-year lifespan, as this one has provided the community. As this report provides kind of that huge overview, the next steps as the commission and the community walks through this process will be identifying specific projects and specific funding sources. Obviously, what's most beneficial to communities is grant funding. And so looking at this great list of acronyms from the state of Minnesota and federal government as to how to obtain funding, go after that. As we discussed in the workshop, the first step of that is identifying projects, showing the legislature and the government that the community is committed to completing these projects and asking for the funding needed. And then as projects are completed and the facilities upgraded in steps, continuing to monitor, evaluate, and adapt this report so that the commission continues to have a kind of a 20-year outlook on what's coming up and where needs will be at the facility.
So again, I just want to make mention that, while the dollar amount is significant when you're looking at the projects that are needed out there, this is, as Mr. Swanson said, this is a roadmap for us. And so we'll take this report and we will start packaging projects that can be done and start looking for potential funding. There's a lot of money out there with state and federal grants and loans and those types of things. And so we'll use this as a guide for both ourselves and then you as a commission to get our plant upgraded. So.
Yeah, very good. I think, like we mentioned earlier in the work session, it's good to have at least a roadmap to start with. So we've got things to look at, and then we can make decisions based off of that as those decisions get nearer and nearer with funding and bidding for some of those projects. All right, can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion to receive and order file the report on the New Ulm Public Utilities wastewater treatment facility infrastructure conditions analysis prepared by Bolton and Mink.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is scale server cluster. And we've got...
Good afternoon. The IT department has a capital project in the budget in 2024 to replace the scale server cluster. The server cluster is our physical hardware that runs our entire virtual environment. So it runs around 45 servers, all the storage for our environment. It's gotten to a point where the resources available on that cluster are no longer sufficient for our environment. So it needs to be upgraded. So that hardware was sent out and got 2 quotes, with CDWG having the low quote of $131,411.40. It is a 8 to 12-week lead time on the hardware, so that is why we're asking for approval now, so we are able to take delivery of that in early 2024 and get it into production.
So the only question I have was just, I mean, obviously sticker shock in general, but the support cost is on both quotes is as much as the units themselves. Is that
Yes.
standard industry? It's five. Is it a five? I read it as a 5-year support.
It's 5-year
package?
support and maintenance for hardware, so you get continued updates as well as drives tend to go out. We will get those replaced for free and things like that.
Okay.
I'll offer the motion to authorize the approval of the quote provided by CDWG for the purchase of a new scale computing hypercore system.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is for some 69 kV breakers for the Center Street substation. Dan?
Yeah, this is actually two projects coming up in the future that are going to be in the 24 and 25 years budgets. But if you look at previously, I guess I didn't know it when we ordered our last two, but we ordered some in 22. They were 38 weeks out. We already received them. They're sitting in the warehouse now. Well, now these are 98 weeks out. So if we want to order these and get these two projects done in 24 or 25, that means that these won't even show up till December of 25. So these are not budgeted, to be honest, but with the lead times as insane as they are, GE Grid Solutions was the cheapest, but also the shortest lead time. One of the other quotes was 104 weeks. So that's, that would have put us out somewhere in 2026.
Wow.
So with these extraordinary times, I guess we're trying to be proactive to keep our projects moving on the schedule we had planned. And yes, they've went up since the last two breakers we've ordered fairly significantly. So with that, any other questions, I try
I've
to
got a
answer.
question for you. If it's going to take 98 weeks to get, do they guarantee the price?
Yep. We at least get to lock the price in now.
Yeah.
And when it's 98 weeks out, in my opinion, they're guessing if they're going to get it here on time. But that's only my opinion.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to authorize the city manager to accept the quote from GE Grid Solutions LLC in the amount of $161,060.63 and for two 69 kV breakers.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 3.4 cooling tower replacement switchgear, and that is also Dan.
You all saw this one last month. When we got back, our electrician started looking at it, getting ready for the install. I noticed we did not have rackable breakers in there, which allows us to take that part of the switchgear out of service, work on it while keeping the rest of the system up and going, like if MISO's having us run or for whatever other reason. And it's also something we use every 5 years. We will be using that for our insurance. We energize everything, rack them out, test the breakers, put them back in and all that. So we went out to all the bidders, modified our bid, and Viking came in cheaper with the rackable breakers, and they're still 55 weeks out. So again, these won't be showing up until 25, January of 25, I think, or December of 24. So that was an oversight by us, I guess, on the functionality of the rackable breakers.
So we don't have rackable breakers now.
We do have them now. They just didn't have them in the spec book when the engineer issued the spec book. So we had to modify the bid, or the spec.
So are we still within the budget of the, at least the
Yes.
24 bucket?
Yep.
Okay, so will some of these that are being purchased early now come out of the 2024 budget then? since we're,
Okay, now,
Purchasing
this
them this year?
project was supposed to be, is budgeted for this year. The breakers will be coming out of the 24 budget.
okay. And so that capital amount will be lowered correspondingly, or,
Well, we don't have to pay for them until they show up.
okay,
So actually, those breakers, the 24 budget, we'll end up having to carry it in 25.
25.
Yeah, you'll end up seeing that on a carryover in February.
okay.
I'll offer
That's a
the,
real, sorry, but that's kind of a problem now with these crazy lead times. It really messes with the budget and where money's
Right.
coming from. It's-
Is there anything else that's, more than 40 weeks that we should be looking at that should be budgeted for 24 to take
And
care of?
things that you
early.
think wouldn't be that long, seem like everything's coming out at more than 40 weeks now lately, especially electrical.
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, I was going to say this when we got to the budget discussion, but I think it probably begs the way we've been seeing things go, that when we talk about the 5-year plan as part of the budget process, that we get a little more into detail and approval of it. I mean, we approve the budget in general, so we are approving, but the 5-year plan is usually just kind of a general discussion, not as opposed to this is going to happen, it's coming next year, and we got to talk about it, and we're committing to it now because
Yeah,
we're 2 years out.
yeah.
So I just
So
think we
we
should give some more consideration when we're in that
Yep,
meeting
yep.
to those things
Yeah,
and
and
that
maybe
topic.
somehow, build that into, the next budget, that we do, that we can maybe show, those past projects that
Right.
we've committed to already,
Right.
to make sure that you're aware of the cost or the money that you will be expending in future years.
Right. Yeah. So we went down a path a couple of years ago about, if it's this amount, then we don't even need to really talk about it here. I'm not saying that we need to do that, but I think that's a good idea, that if we're saying we're going to spend 400 and something thousand on this and 200 and something thousand on this a year out or 2 years out, that we then see, okay, now it's in the budget, but remember we talked about it, and now it's coming to fruition.
Yeah.
If we're not committing until we actually spend.
And I think, we'll talk about that when we have our budget work session too, but, Beth does keep track of those costs. And so when she's calculating out what beginning cash is going to be for the budget, she's taking those things into consideration as
Right.
well. If they have not been expended, she's putting them in there so that we know.
Right.
Because, at some point, you're going to have to pay that $1 million.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you have that.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, so I think the only one comment I have and you said, Dan, with the with one of these projects, that we're not paying for it until it gets here. So it's fine that it goes in the budget, but we need to approve it now so that we can place the order. Probably let's go, and maybe it is there and I missed it, but from a cash flow standpoint, these things are going to start to get crazy if we have to pay now, receive later. So maybe make sure that it's abundantly clear whether things are pay now, receive later, or approve now, pay later, receive later, because we could definitely get into a cash flow crunch if it goes the other way,
Yeah, yeah.
or have to look at bonding just to float these 2-year projects.
Right.
Okay,
Well,
thank you.
And we'll continue to put, on the agenda item, there's the history section, which tells you, what you have already approved to. We'll
Right.
continue to do that as well, so that'll be a history for you. When you're looking at those agenda items, you can see back what we've done. But, there may be a way to, I'll talk to Beth about that, and we'll see if there's a way to just kind of keep that in the forefront,
Yeah,
that's sitting out there. Because, 2 years from now, it's,
2 years from now, here's
yeah,
here's 500, here's 500 grand or
Yeah.
a couple million.
exactly.
Okay. All right, thank you. I'll offer the motion to authorize the city manager to accept the bid from Viking Electric for the cooling tower MCC replacement switchgear equipment in the amount of $254,938.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion on that one? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next one is a presentation of the preliminary 2024 budget for New Ulm Public Utilities, and that's Chris.
Yes, Commissioners, this is just to have you receive the preliminary budget. We will adopt the budget at the December meeting. The preliminary 2024 budget anticipates an operating income of $49,562,598, with operating expenses of $47,627,876, resulting in a net operating income of $1,934,722. We do have some non-operating income and expenses of $1,066,353, bringing income before the non-operating transfers to $3,601,075. Net income at the end is $4,287,683. We have a change in unrestricted cash of a positive $1,090,875, and we have a debt service coverage of 6.58 times. The 2024 preliminary budget has been color-coded again, so it will highlight any of the variances from the approved 2023 budget. And the next item on the agenda is actually to schedule the work session. So we'll have an opportunity to talk about it at that point.
I'll make the motion to receive and order file the preliminary 2024 budget for the New Ulm Public Utilities.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on, we're receiving the preliminary report. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And now we need to schedule a meeting to review the budget.
Yeah, in the past, we have typically scheduled the work session the day of the November meeting, which in this particular case, it would be November 28th. We typically have it in the Public Utilities front conference room, and it's tentatively scheduled for 1:30 p.m. on that Tuesday. So just wanted to bring that to you and see if there's approval, if that will work for you. On that day, we'll schedule that.
Works for me.
Works for me.
Yep, works for me as well.
Okay.
I'll offer the motion to schedule a meeting to review the preliminary 2024 budget for New Ulm Public Utilities at 1:30 p.m. Tuesday, November 28th, 2023, in the Public Utilities Front Conference Room, 310 First North Street.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Last item on our agenda is the report of claims.
I'll make the motion to accept the list of claims paid in the amount of $3,197,085.62.
I'll sec.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Is there any other commissioner comments that we've got? If not, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.